What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hart DFS. Today we have another NBA Slate breakdown on Draftkings. So if you're new to the channel, please throw a like, comment, subscribe. Do appreciate all the recent support we've gotten and support overall. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at HartDFS. I go over my core plays for the day, any extra prize pick lines, answer any questions you guys have, stuff like that. So definitely make sure to follow me out there. As you guys can see, I did pretty well with yesterday's game. If we take a look at my lineup from yesterday, played in the single entry, the NBA 10K high five, tripled my money. Obviously, it's nothing too huge. I turned 5 into 15, but it's not really about the money. It's more just about getting back on the winning ways, having a good lineup, and that's what we had. I only missed out on first by 23 points. It was looking real good for pretty much that whole Suns and Dallas game. I was in the top like 400, and then I got all the way down to 58th. I was really thinking that I had a good chance of taking it down, but let's go over my lineup, review it. Shake Milton, I talked about in the video how you could get super risky and play him. I did. He actually did get some minutes in the first quarter, 5 minutes, and then did nothing, and then pretty much didn't play the rest of the game. So that was a little unfortunate. I know one of the games this series, Shake Milton's going to have a good game, so just keep an eye on that. But super low, obviously did nothing. Devin Booker, talked about him and Luka, how I really liked both of them. Devin Booker was super low owned. I don't know why. Had an amazing first quarter. As you guys can see, he put up 29 fantasy points in the first quarter, and then kind of really cooled off, especially towards the end of the game. He missed, I think, like 7 shots in a row. So it could have been an even bigger night from Devin Booker. Kind of wish it was. It would have gotten closer to the takedown, but can't complain. If you guys don't watch my slate analysis videos for DraftKings, definitely make sure you are. Just because I've been going over some core plays that have been really good, have really worked out. Talked about Devin Booker. Really worked out there. Kind of got screwed with how I kind of rostered my lineup. I was stuck at the small forward position with not knowing who to put in there because there really wasn't anyone good. You would have to pay up, about $4,700 to get someone decent in there. It's because I had Shake Milton in the point guard. If I rearranged this, like put Luka in the point guard, it would have been a lot better. But kind of got screwed there. Had to go with Thibault. Didn't work out. Tobias was, scored well, but everything else was a little underwhelming. Only 37. Low owned, which is surprising. Paul Reed, would be popular. Had 19 fantasy points in the first half, then kind of slowed down. He was in foul trouble the whole game. Definitely a guy, you can look to run back once again. Luka talked about, maybe Phoenix will try to stop him, but obviously it's Luka. Got 75 fantasy points. Pretty popular. Love to see that. Kleber had a great first half. I think he had like 16 points in the first half. Then he had that scary fall and pretty much didn't really do anything other than a few, 2 or 3 points. 24, so pretty decent there. I did talk about going with one of those Dallas Maverick guys. I know I preferred Powell, but I am going Kleber just because that's kind of how he fit with my roster. And then Bam. Talked about how I really liked him going against Paul Reed, and he ended up having a great game. So pretty decent overall. 3 times in your money is nothing to bash your eyes about. As you can see, the winning lineup, Luka, Booker, obviously. Jay Crowder had was on pace for a career game. I'm not sure where that came from. Usually that's kind of like his ceiling, but not bad. He had Thibault, he had Reed. Hero was the guy I was trying to get in with Bam. I couldn't, figure it out. A little bit of bad roster construction from me. I should have went the Hero instead of Tobias, but oh well. Then in Kleber and Bam. So I was pretty close. I had everyone besides Crowder and Hero. I was kind of just 2 players off from, the takedown, but otherwise, pretty good night. You can never get mad about, 3 times in your money, being in the top 58 out of 2,500 people. So another good day. Let's try to keep this ball rolling. Obviously, we have 2 games today. Sorry if I'm a little nasally. Took some allergy medicine, so it's kind of clogged up. But the first game, Milwaukee versus Boston, we saw Giannis pretty much led them to victory. They did a great job of stopping them, obviously, from a field goal standpoint, 9 of 25, didn't shoot the ball well at all. Still got a triple-double, so 11-4 for Giannis. Don't mind it at all. It's, Giannis Antetokounmpo, so 11-4, if you want to go there, you can. A little too pricey for me, personally, but it's Giannis. He should do really well, even at that price point. We saw Jrue Holiday step up. I talked about how they're going to need Jrue Holiday and Bobby Portis to step up. Jrue easily hit his points on prize picks, but overall, Draftkings wise, 8-20, didn't shoot the ball well at all either, like Giannis, and he still managed to get you 50 fantasy points because he's a guy who could stuff the stat sheet. 3 steals, 5 assists, 9 rebounds. If the Bucks are going to win, it's going to be because of Giannis, and then it's going to be because of guys like Jrue Holiday and Bobby Portis who step up. As we saw, Bobby, another game, pretty much the same minutes, pretty much the same shots, 15 points, 11 rebounds, assist, a steal. This is pretty much what you're going to get from Bobby Portis, 6,300 right here. Double-double, about 33 minutes, about 12 shots a game, shooting the ball well. He could be shooting his threes a little bit better, so, he does have a little bit higher ceiling when it comes to points. So I have some decent interest in both him and Holiday. For me on the Bucks side, Brook Lopez looks okay. You like to see the minutes, play 28. Not shooting the ball a ton. Shots have gone down just because they're focusing on, getting Giannis, Jrue, and Bobby some more shots. Brook is kind of being phased out of the game a tad, but, okay play at 4,800. Grayson Allen, 4,700. Price has come down a little bit. He was 5,200 a little bit ago against Chicago. He's score independent. Obviously not going to come in and shoot the ball a ton. He's more out there for his defense just to hit some threes. He can't get you those steals, 3 last game. So, I don't mind it. 4,700 is still a little pricey for a guy who's score independent, not too involved in the offense, but he should have a lot of open look shots from Giannis being able to drive, get double teamed, and throw it out. So I don't mind going to Grayson Allen. Pat Connaughton, a guy who will see about 20 minutes, maybe closer to 30 if he's playing, really well and shooting the ball well. 3,800, is a decent price tag for Pat Connaughton. So if you're looking for a value play, I don't mind going to him. Wes Matthews seen about, mid-20s minutes. Obviously not shooting the ball well, or he's not going to shoot it a ton. As you can see, he can throw out a really horrible game. 4 fantasy points, 18 minutes. 36 minutes, only 17 fantasy points. So don't think you get to do it, but I will, just mention him just because he does get playing time. And then Carter, 22 minutes. He's a guy you can go to. Obviously not going to be too involved in the offense. He can randomly get you a bunch of steals if the other team's being sloppy. So at 3,200, I had to mention him, but don't know if I have any interest unless you're trying to play Giannis and try to get, some cheaper guys in there. Boston side, I think the word of the day is overreaction. A lot of people are going to overreact to, what happened in that first game. So, Tatum played horrible. He was 70% owned. I think a lot of that ownership is going to fall off of Tatum and move to guys like Brown, whose price has come down to 7,700. Only shot 4-13. The minutes were there. Didn't shoot the ball well. Still got 12 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. So he's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet even when he's not shooting the ball well. And I do think a lot of the ownership is going to fall to Brown. I'm going to eat it just because, they're going to need him to step up. He's the second guy on this team behind Tatum. So I do really like Brown for today. But I think, Jason Tatum is going to go from 70% owned to probably 35, 30. I do think a lot of people are going to overreact, hop off Tatum in the spot against the Bucks. And, people are going to go to Brown. So I do like going Brown, but I do think Tatum is going to be a little bit of a lower owned, sneakier play for today. I guess not sneakier, but lower owned for today. Marcus Smart, 6,200. He did get hurt, so we have to keep an eye on this. We have to wait for the news. He said he's going to play, but we'll have to see. If he's in, he's going to be, low owned today just because people are going to be a little weary about the injury and how he's going to play through it. Because I know he hurt his quad and his shoulder or his arm. But I wouldn't mind, taking that risk on getting, very risky playing him and hoping he does well. Otherwise, Horford looks pretty good at 5,800. I'd like to see 36 minutes. Didn't shoot the ball too well. Shot well from three. Everything else he missed. But you got, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. He's a guy that's been stuffing the stat sheet in the playoffs for him. 10 points per game, almost 8 rebounds, over 3 assists, a block. So 5,800 for Horford looks really, really good. But the issue I have is Robert Williams is back. Obviously, they start alongside each other. But if Robert Williams is playing well, I do think they could take a few minutes away from Horford and Grant Williams. And I do really like Robert Williams in a bounce back spot. Played 22 minutes. Wasn't the best in the second half of the game. Obviously, he didn't really play much. It's just because he's, coming back from injury. He's trying to find his groove. Looked decent in the first, quarter, first half. And then kind of, fizzled out with just, being out there. I do expect his minutes to go back up to his normal amount of around 28, into the 30s if he's playing well. And he's still got you 24 fantasy points in 22 minutes. A guy who stuffs the stat sheet, 6 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, a steal. Averaging almost 10 points per game, almost 10 rebounds per game, almost 2 assists per game, and over 2 blocks per game. So, do really like 4.9 for Robert Williams. I think he's going to be super popular again today, and for a good reason. But I do like going over him over Horford and Williams. Williams 4K, just a little too pricey for me for a guy who's going to get like 7 shots. Most of them be 3-pointers. Good 3-point shooter, but doesn't really do much otherwise than that. I don't think it's, I'd get there at 4K. 3,800, Derrick White. You could definitely take a shot on, especially if Marcus Smart is out. Derrick White's going to be one of those guys you want to lock in. He's not going to be super, super involved in offense with, Brown and Tatum out there. But he's a guy that can, fill in and definitely score some points, get some boards and assists. So keep an eye on the Marcus Smart news. But do like Derrick White a little bit today. Same with Pritchard, 3,100, played 11 minutes. Game did slightly blow out in the end, but he's a guy who would get some more run as well if Marcus Smart is out. So I can't give like a accurate core as of right now, but definitely keep those guys on the radar for the Boston side. Warriors versus the Grizzlies. We got screwed with that Draymond ejection, especially in prize picks. Very annoying, but I'm going back to the wall again today with guys like Steph, 9,100. Way too cheap for a guy like Steph Curry. Kind of hit its floor last game. These Warriors guys got off to a really slow start. Steph picked up a little bit more in the second half, but still shot 8 of 20. Only 3 rebounds. He usually averages 5. Only 4 assists, averages about 6 a game. Didn't get you a block, but usually gets a steal game. Didn't get a steal. And had a little bit of foul trouble. So, 37 fantasy points was, the lowest he's gotten since, returning from injury. There was a 29 minutes from Milwaukee, but, it's Steph Curry. Averages 45 fantasy points per game on the season. 9,100, way too cheap for him. Another game where overreaction is the main word. Jordan Poole came off the bench, had a nice Jordan Poole game. 59 fantasy points. I think people are going to overreact. Try to jam Jordan Poole in the lineup because I expect him to come off the bench again. That does help him out usage-wise and fantasy point-wise. He's not going to have to compete with as many shots as the starters with Steph and Clay, but I still think it's a little too pricey for me to get to Jordan Poole. Obviously he had a great game. I do think people are going to overreact, jam him into the lineups. He's going to be a lot higher owned than he was last slate. I think he was only around 10%. I do expect to see him around 25% this slate. Not going to go there. I'd rather get to a guy like Klay Thompson. Going to be a lot lower owned. Didn't shoot the ball well at all. Still got you 28 fantasy points. He shot the ball pretty good the last half of the last month of the season into the playoffs. So as I always mention with this Golden State side, with Steph, Clay, and Draymond in the lineup, you're going to want to take 2 of them just because of how well-oiled they are as a tandem, or not tandem, but as a trio. And so you're going to need 2 of them because they're the heart and soul of the team. If 2 of them are doing well, that means the Warriors are doing well, and they're probably going to win the game. So I really like, pairing 2 of them together. I'm going to go back to the Steph and Draymond one, but, maybe I'll get, very, very risky, throw Clay in, have all the whole trio in there, but we'll have to see. I do really like all three of those guys today for me. Not really on Poole. Wiggins looks okay at 5,700, kind of just there. 30 fantasy points per game is kind of what you can expect. Talked about Otto Porter Jr. Got the minutes because of Draymond, being out, so he did get, extended a little bit. Obviously not going to shoot the ball a ton, as I mentioned. He only shot it 4 times, went 1 of 4. Did stuff the stat sheet otherwise, so you're going to have to look to Otto Porter if you want to get a little risky with your value. Gary Payton Jr. is a guy you're going to want to lock in once again today. Had 23 fantasy points, had foul trouble, didn't play as much as he could have. But, at 3,500, a guy who's going to play, 25-ish minutes, good defender. He can stuff the stat sheet with those assists, steals, rebounds, and score some points. He's going to be on Ja. So I do like going to, where'd he go? Gary Payton is a good value play today. I'm sure he'll be like 60, 70% owned. I feel like it's, you're going to want to eat that chalk. That does it for me on the Golden State side. Kuminga did get some minutes just because of the Draymond ejection. Looney, started after Draymond got ejected. Don't expect that from Looney once again. Moving on to the Memphis side. Talked about how I really like Ja going against Steph. Put up 68 fantasy points. Steph can't play defense. That's a green light special for Ja. Mentioned this in my last video. So if you listened and you played him, you were off to a great start. Once again, I know the price has come up, but it's Ja going against Steph defense. I know they had Gary Payton on him for a good amount of time, but Gary Payton got in foul trouble, and that led to Ja being able to do his stuff. He didn't shoot the ball too well. Did make 4 3-pointers, shot it 11 times, which he hasn't done since the beginning of March. And before that, he only, he hasn't really gotten close at all. So I don't really expect that to happen, him to shoot, 3 11 times, make 4 of them. I do expect him to hit, a little bit more 2-pointers, get into the rim more. So, I'm just indifferent on playing Ja. I really want to, but if you throw him in there, only leaves you 4,100 left over. So I don't know if I'm going to get there for Ja. We'll have to see. Do really like Bane in a bounce back spot. Obviously, his price is kind of up there a little bit still. But as we can see, he can get you into the mid-40s fantasy point-wise. Maybe even more if he's getting some more rebounds and assists. But do like the bounce back on Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson Jr. had a great game. Shot 6 and 9 from 3. Don't expect that again. So went off for 33 and 10, 1 and 1. Played 31 minutes, 10 of 18. Kind of had his best 2 games back-to-back on the season. I know he does have some upside, but I just don't expect him to be 6 and 9 from 3 again. I do expect him to drop down back to his average of maybe 2 threes a game. Not shooting the ball as well. So I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction to chase him. 6,100 obviously is a great price. He does have that upside. I just think it's a little bit of a chase to go back to the well for the 3rd time in a row with him. Brandon Clark, do like him, 6K. The minutes were there. Did well shooting the ball. It's just, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Kind of just, an average game, pretty good game for him. That is kind of like his floor area, I guess you could say, in about 30 minutes. So I do like going back to Brandon Clark at 6K. Dylan Brooks, not for me. Obviously, he was off to a great start in that last game versus Minnesota, but versus the Warriors, he's 3 of 13. Just if he's not hitting his shots, he's not really worth it at 5.5K. Even if he is, he's still like the 3rd option on the team. So I don't think I get to him. Melton came off the bench, had a good run, 25 minutes, had a good game. I think it's to be overreaction. People are going to throw in Melton over Tyus Jones. Still like Tyus Jones as a value play, 3,800 minutes. Obviously lost minutes to Melton, who was shooting the ball well, playing well. But before that, we saw about 20 minutes in the last 3 games of the Memphis series, 22, 20, 26. He was playing well. He was getting, about a point per minute fantasy-wise. So I don't mind getting off of Melton and going to a guy like Tyus Jones just for that ownership, the lower value. Otherwise, I want to get to really anyone on this side of Memphis besides Ja and Desmond Bane and Clark. Those are kind of the guys I'm looking at. Let's just throw in Bane. So this is kind of the route I'm looking, kind of more of that mid-range route. I do think that's the way to go for today's slate. I do really like Steph, do really like Brown, and I do really like pairing Draymond with those two, with Steph. So those three guys, and I'd say, everyone besides Bane is the core right now for me, and probably will be the core for later today. So stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter, HeartDFS. I'll be making an updated core. Leave this video a like, subscribe, comment. Do appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys later today for an NBA Prize Pick video. Peace.